Hey, what's up? I'm Eric. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Legacy Modern Edition. This is another round from the Modern 1K Spellhold ran on June 4th. This is the third round. On the left, we have Amulet Titan, a combo deck focused on ramping lands out and putting a Primeval Titan into play to assemble various combos of lands to win the game. The title card, Amulet of Vigor, makes it so that those lands come into play um, and have a trigger that untaps them. The uh, deck also can win with Dryad of the Elysian Grove. It makes all your lands into all basic land types, most importantly mountains, so that Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle, can trigger for every land that you put into play. So you'll often see a Dryad out, Titan hit the field, and then they grab two Valakuts, and since those Valakuts are mountains themselves, they trigger and deal a whole bunch of lightning bolts to the opponent's face to finish them off. The the other way that the deck can win is just by getting lands into play that'll buff the Titan somehow, giving it haste or vigilance or double strike or any combination of things that will allow it to just kill the opponent with combat damage. On the right, we have Temur Rhinos, which is somewhat of a combo slash tempo slash mid range deck. Kind of hard to describe what archetype it fits into, but the basic premise is that you run cards with Cascade, and the only card that you could Cascade into is Crashing Footfalls, which makes two 4/4 Rhinos, and the rest of the deck is made up of a bunch of spells that are 0, 1, or 2 mana, but aren't actually for the purposes of Cascade, so adventure creatures, split cards, and things of that nature. With all that being said, let's get into game one. We have Titan on the play, and I believe both players kept 7. We'll see how it goes. It's a forest into an Arboreal Grazer, make an extra land drop, and there's that Valakut. The deck doesn't actually run any mountains naturally, so you do have to have Dryad out for it to actually do anything. Mountain on Rhino's turn, back to Titan, just plays a bounce land, returns that Valakut to hand after floating a mana, and then casts an Explorer for an extra land drop, and another Arboreal Grazer for another land drop. So we're already up to 5 mana, so this is potentially a turn that Titan can cast after the Temur Rhinos player just plays a forest and passes back. See if there's an untapped land into a Titan. It's not uncommon for this deck to combo off on turn 3. However, it's not going to be an instant win because there is no amulet in play. So it'll just be a big advantage. But he didn't have the land, so he passes back. That's a third land. And then Titan plays a Valakut, passes back again. And on Titan's end step, that's a Violent Outburst into an instant speed pair of Rhinos. Finally, on Rhino's turn, we have 2 Rhinos in play with the ability to attack. Here comes a Fury, pitching a Bone Crusher Giant. Neither card is super useful other than for killing Dryad, so just getting a little bit of chump blockers out of the way here. Coming in with the Rhinos, taking him down to 15, passing back with 3 lands untapped. Here comes a Summoner's Pact. That's a Force of Negation to stop that from happening, but there's Summoner's Pact number 2. That's 6 mana in play, so he's able to cast that Titan, since he did play that Valakut number 2 last turn. Oh, but that's a little shortcut on mana there with the, I forget what it's called, but the land that makes 6 mana for creatures if you put 4 into it. And the Titan grabs a bounce land, and I believe there was a Teleria West was the land that got bounced there. Teleria West is able to transmute for a 0 drop, so you could grab another Summoner's Pact, and this turns into another Titan next turn. Just chaining Titans into each other is an effective way to win the game. Downside of Summoner's Pact, of course, is that you do have to spend 4 mana on your upkeep or lose the game, so there's a little dice on top of the deck to remind the Amulet player to pay that or lose on the spot. swung in with the rhinos. Chump attacked into the Titan, but there's a shardless agent for another pair of rhinos. Quite a bit of power on board. The Titan is going to have some difficulty swinging into 8 total power. Trading a rhino for a Titan is probably not where you want to be at. Three mana for something. Could be Transmute Teleria West, grabbing another Summoner's Pact. Oh, it's actually a Dryad, so this is going to be, with 2 Valakuts in play, quite a lot of damage represented. Yeah, attacking into those rhinos, don't particularly mind. Will trade quite a bit of... Okay, so the Vesuva is probably copying the Valakut, so that's 3 Valakuts, 2 landfall triggers, and that's going to be a total of 6 bolts, probably targeting the opponent's face. And then 1 more land drop in the second main phase will spell just enough damage to finish off the opponent. That was Amulet's win. We'll move into game 2 and see how it goes. Here we go, Rhinos on the play. Plays out a fetch and passes. Amulet also fetches a basic. And that's a turn 1 expedition map. Not the artifact that you're hoping to see, but still not bad. End step fetch for a basic island. End step fetching a basic probably means that there's a Blood Moon in hand, something that Titan has to worry about. They have ways around it, probably bringing in stuff like Force of Vigor post board, as well as Boseiju. And Expedition Map can find Boseiju, so that's a fairly straightforward way to answer the Blood Moon, especially with a basic forest in hand already. Blood Moon, of course, preventing Valakut from being a win. There's a Fire Ice on upkeep to tap the land and make sure that Amulet can't crack this turn. And there's a Cavern. I don't know what it's naming. It's safe to say it's either Dryad or Titan. If he has a Dryad in hand, probably Dryad. Otherwise, probably just Titan as a default. On Rhino's turn, looking at a few cards in hand, there is a Force of Vigor, so probably a little overjoyed if he sees Dryad come out, as it is an enchantment. You can get a 2-for-1 that way. Or a 2-for-2, I suppose, if he's pitching. There's a bounce land, return that Cavern, and an Explore. Make an extra land drop. Looks like in this case it was a basic forest. Back to Rhinos. That's a fetch, probably on end step. Yeah, for a tapped Temur Triumph. I see another Fire Ice, an Archmage Charm, 2 Archmage Charms actually. That's 4 mana representing a hard cast Force of Vigor. There's the Summoner's Pact. Looks like it is going off indeed. Grabbing a Dryad. We'll probably lay out the Cavern of Souls, naming Dryad, and cast it. Yep, that's exactly what happens. Despite having Archmage Charm mana up, that's not going to successfully counter that. And then there's a bounce land picking up that Cavern and laying out an Explosives on 0, which of course is an answer to Rhino tokens as their 0 CMC, but the hardcast Force of Vigor catches that and the Dryad. Here's a suspended Crashing Footfalls from hand, not something that you see a whole ton of, but also not a bad way to spend mana if you don't have any other options. Still representing Archmage Charm. 4 mana for something. Ah, it was for the Summoner's Pact, of course. Land for turn was just a tapped Teleria West. Grabbing a Breeding Pool in the end step. Crashing Footfalls, ticking down to 3. quite a ways off from that being relevant, but the game seems to be in a pretty slowed down state at the moment. There's a Blood Moon, which is what Titan was worried about based on play patterns earlier with the basic fetching. Most likely has an answer in hand. If he doesn't, he could just crack that map and go ahead and find Boseiju. Yeah, there's the Boseiju. After Rhinos passes the turn. Just keeping that insurance in there, spending the mana when you can. Cavern, naming Titan, casting Titan. And there's a bounce land and a T West, picking it up with that bounce land trigger, representing yet another Summoner's Pact next turn. There's a Archmage Charm to draw to. Untap. Rhinos are on 2. Might be another Blood Moon in hand, I can't quite tell, but we still have 2 Archmage's Charms even after casting 1 last turn. I guess 1 got drawn, and another Force of Vigor. There's oh yeah, that is another Blood Moon, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Making a bit of a flub here, shocking the Stomping Ground despite tapping the Triumph for red instead of the Stomping Ground, but it is what it is. He could have just cast it afterwards. There's the Boseiju coming out, fetching out a land with a basic type. He'll grab an island. That is 3 basic islands, so he can still Archmage Charm through his own Blood Moon if he finds another one. Little confusion about the cut, I suppose. Not sure what was going on there. 3 mana transmute. Grabbing, of course, Summoner's Pact and casting it. It resolves. We'll grab another Titan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's plenty of mana. You could cast a Titan with a leftover forest untapped. Looks like that's precisely what's going to happen. That Cavern's still naming Titan. Titan trigger happens. It's going to be a bounce land and a Boseiju. Picking up that Boseiju into hand, making further insurance against Blood Moon. And there's the land for turn, just a basic forest. Rhinos is representing a violent outburst, but instead it's an ice to tap the Titan and prevent another trigger from happening. Draw for turn was Force of Negation. Not exactly the most useful card in a lot of situations against Titans, especially once there's already Titans on the field, but kind of a necessary card when you're staring down stuff like Summoner's Pact and Amulet of Vigor, which you need to be able to deal with. 3 mana was a Archmage's Charm to draw a couple. It's definitely a violent outburst in hand. And it looks like multiple Force of Vigors. I'm not entirely sure. There's an Otawara as well, which can be helpful in stemming the bleeding with all these Titans. But there's 2 Titan attacks into 2 triggers. So we have Bounce Land, Saga, 2 Valakids. Saga being quite a useful card for a longer game, and it also helps to tutor out important pieces such as Amulet of Vigor and Expedition Map. There's a Violent Outburst before blocks to make a couple Rhinos and double block one of those prime times. Damage happens. 1 Rhino down, 1 Titan down, and 6 to the face. So if a Dryad comes out, things could be starting to look a little dicey. That was Cavern naming Nymph or Dryad or whatever that thing's creature type is. So there's a Force of Vigor to kill Saga and kill Dryad. The Valakut triggers don't happen because they check at the start and at the end of the trigger to see if you control enough mountains, so you can kill the Dryad in response to the Valakut triggers and make sure that it doesn't deal damage. Just an interesting little thing. That was a Tulare West transmute for an explosives on 0, as that Crashing Footfalls is going to come off this turn. Interesting. That's a Archmage Charm steal your engineered explosives on the end step, forcing you to pop it and only kill one rhino. And the 2 rhinos from the suspended one come out, and there's a Blood Moon. But we already know there is a Boseiju in Titan's hand. Trying to figure out if there was a Summoner's Pact trigger to be dealt with this turn. It doesn't appear there was. There's Grazer. Just laying him out and passing back. Rhino's hand has 2 Force Negations and an Otawara, so not a whole lot going on. Swinging the Rhinos into the Titan. Just preventing a little bit of damage here by trumping with the Arboreal Grazer. Passing it back. Probably see an end step Boseiju here. Or I suppose not. Okay. Swing trigger. Grab another couple lands. We have a pretty impressive display of lands at the moment. These Titans have been putting in a lot of work. Okay, there's the Boseiju finally. Get rid of that Blood Moon. Not much you could do about it. You could, in this situation, bounce your own Blood Moon with the Otawara and save it so that you could recast it next turn. But in that case, Titan would most likely just grab perhaps another Boseiju. I'm not sure how many we've been through at this point. Yeah, there was another one. So even if that were the play, another Boseiju would have been waiting for that Blood Moon yet again. Not sure what the timing was, if the bounce trigger went off or not. I must have missed what the deal was there. Otawara bounced the Titan, and then there's the Titan recast. Grabbing Saga, and that looks like Handweir Battlements, which is a way to give a creature haste, but it ain't quite working out this turn, as that Titan was bounced in combat, I believe. Passing it back to Rhinos, just drew a Fire Ice to buy another turn against that Titan, but here comes Saga to generate some more threats. Naturally drawn Amulet, first one we've seen this whole match. It is the title card, but finally a use for Force of Negation. Exiles it before it even hits the field. There's Titan number 2, naturally drawn. Probably just not a whole lot of lands left at this point. Yeah, we have a Radiant Fountain to gain a little life, and a Vesuva. I am unsure what it is copying. Okay, it's copying Urza's Saga. There's Handweir Battlements to give that second Titan haste. Not a typical card. Most people are running Slayer's Stronghold, which is 2 mana to give a Titan Vigilance and haste, and +2/+0. But this makes things a little easier on the mana. There's a bounce land and a Castle Garenbrig, returning the Boseiju to hand off of one of those triggers. Here comes a Blood Moon. Saga's about to die, so make a guy. Let's see, life totals are, looks like 8 for Rhinos and something like 12. Yeah, 12 for Titan. Rhino slams in. passing it back. Quite a decent number of cards, lands mostly, and a tireless tracker, which is just in time to help that construct grow a little bit larger with the landfall triggers making clues. Although we may see some clues getting popped to draw cards and try to find a way to close the game out. But that was enough for Rhinos, and that was 2-0. 2-0 for Titan. It's probably a difficult matchup, I would imagine, for Rhinos to work through. Beseiju has made it so that Blood Moon is a lot easier to answer. You'll see many lists playing Magus of the Moon, specifically because Titan has a much harder time dealing with Magus as opposed to Blood Moon. It's actually easier for them now with Beseiju to answer Blood Moon, but it's worse in other matchups, of course, because other decks that you might want moon effects against can easily kill the Magus. Either way, that was round 3, and I hope you enjoyed. Thank you to Spellhold Games, and I'll see you next time.